Hello everyone, welcome to another video in the series of unknown literature. Today we're going to be looking at a different theme that I am personally fascinated with. It is the theme of serialized fiction. So serialization as a whole and serialization in fiction in particular is not very much known to the modern reader, but it is a format of publishing stories in installments, like in magazines, newspapers, or other digital platforms, that has influenced literary traditions for almost 2 or 3 centuries now. It has impacted very classical literature as we know, like the Charles Dickens episodic releases in Victorian magazines and Arthur Conan Doyle's detective tales like the Sherlock Holmes and the Strand magazine. And these different serialized fiction has captivated different audiences for centuries. And we're going to be looking at how the serialization works as a powerful force in literature, how it continues to have historical significance, and how it has evolved into the digital era. Okay, let's dive right in. So let's look at what serialized fiction is. Serialized fiction really refers to, again, a story published in installments. This format became popular in the 19th century, and it offers reader a stream of content about on a weekly basis or monthly basis, usually weekly in the case of the magazines that we're going to be looking at, and it allows the writers to shape their narratives according to the audience reactions because they're writing it after they released the last week's one. And so, unlike a standalone novel, it focuses on episodic storytelling. It focuses on the single episode that they are telling that week. And this helps the readers keep eagerly anticipating the next installment. The concept that was developed here is called the cliffhanger, which is basically leaving off the story without a resolution in the conclusion. And so the author wants to know what is going to come next, and this has become a crucial tool for sustaining reader interest in the novel. And these kind of innovative approaches have really made literature more accessible and participatory, and it has fostered a deeper connection between the authors and their audiences, especially with affordability. Especially during the Victorian era, as we are going to be looking at with Charles Dickens, as we see here. Full novels were very expensive, and reading was a luxury that not everyone could enjoy, especially the working class. Because individual installments were shorter, they were cheaper, and they could be read in really as you were walking to your work, for example. It made literature so much more accessible to a broader audience. It democratized storytelling in a way. We also have engagement in terms of making the readers more emotionally invested and allowing them to discuss or speculate about what's going to happen next, the future plot developments. And this in turn allowed the authors to have flexibility in their narratives. They could adjust what their story was doing based on public feedback. If the public was like, oh, I don't like this character, like I don't think it's like supposed to be in the story, it doesn't match the rest of the story, it doesn't have the flow, then they might be, ooh, the public doesn't want that, I'll get rid of that. And so this created a interactive storytelling experience that allowed readers to enjoy it more, and that allowed authors to have more flexibility. We're going to be looking at one of the two earliest and most influential works in serialized fiction, The Pickwick Papers and Sherlock Holmes. So the Pickwick Papers was one of the first major successes in serialized fiction. It is one of the earliest books written by Charles Dickens. This was first published in 1836, and it was conceived in a series of humorous travel sketches, but has evolved into a whole book, something much, much greater now. It follows the adventure of Mr. Pickwick and his friends, and throughout England, it uses humor, social commentary, and character-driven storytelling. And thanks to its monthly serialization, Dickens was able to respond to reader feedback by adjusting plot lines, and he could develop a richer character arc over time. He could also build anticipation through cliffhangers. If you read this in a book nowadays, you're going to see that some of the chapters, because he usually wrote 2 or 3 chapters at once, I believe, and so after 2 or 3 chapters, you get a cliffhanger, and it's like as if a book is ending here, but no, it is a way that he allowed readers to anticipate his story until the next month publication came around. And yeah, this was a kind of an experiment in serialized storytelling, and it definitely paid off. And the Pickwick Papers was a major success. The demand skyrocketed, and it really made Dickens a literary sensation almost overnight. And this success proved that serialization isn't just a method of publishing, it is a way to tell stories powerfully to audiences, while deepening engagement and transforming literature into a kind of communal experience. Yeah, and so serialization really profoundly impacted Dickens's writing style as well. He mastered cliffhangers and episodic structures. We often see different destinations that the Pickwick Club travels to, and this keeps the readers on edge while blending humor with social critique. A famous quote that Dickens has in his story, it really captures the emotional depth that storytelling can have. It is not because I do not suffer myself that I can console the suffering of others. And these kind of idea really show how he was able to blend humor and poignant social commentary. And I wanted to give you an example of the serialization, but really there was nothing definitive that I could show you. But I just wanted to share you a quote that can show his very masterful ability to express things and just tackle the themes of poverty, injustice, and class struggles, things like this that continue to be a theme in his writing. And yeah, the serialization built him a kind of loyal readership base that made him more popular, and that allowed future works like The Great Expectations and Oliver Twist to also be serialized as well. And yeah, just a bit more into Charles Dickens. Born in 1812, he is one of the most famous Victorian writers. He kind of revolutionized it in a lot of ways, including serialization. He also dealt with a lot of topics like hunger, like death, like the problem in the city in England, for example, that was not widely dealt with at the time. And he cemented his legacy as one of the greatest storyteller in English literature. We even have a word for it, Dickensian, for example. And he is really a sensation even like 200, 300 years later. Okay, now let's look into Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is another famous serialized fiction. It was written by Arthur Conan Doyle in 1891, and it appeared in the Strand magazine. And this has revolutionized, really, detective fiction as a whole. It has made it widely, vastly more popular, and it has a lot of intellectual complexity, a lot of gripping mysteries that keeps the readers very much anticipating. Yeah, and so Doyle also used episodic storytelling. This allowed readers to watch Sherlock Holmes's adventure while also enjoying these standalone mysteries. It also gave Doyle the freedom to experiment with different narrative styles and see the public reaction. It allowed him to slowly develop Holmes and Watson's relationship. Watson is his doctor friend, basically. They work together in a lot of the series. And it created like a lot of iconic quotes. For example, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And I really love Holmes's kind of very mechanical way of saying things. He is a fascinating character. And yeah, Doyle was compelled to kind of use the detective novels to talk about a lot of the problems that were also widely prevalent at the time in England as well. And yeah, just a bit more into the author. Arthur Conan Doyle again is best known for his creation. He was actually a Scottish physician, so he had a lot of scientific background that he could draw upon. Born in 1859, so not a lot after Dickens. And yeah, it's what is really exemplary about Sherlock Holmes's tales is that it has a lot of scientific precision. Like it will range wide ranges of different intellectual scopes that Holmes is a master of, and he was able to use all these serialization to provide something that really was the epitome of his career and the epitome of detective novels as a whole. And although Doyle really wanted to move beyond Sherlock Holmes, he was compelled to resurrect these detective ideas because of public demand. And so the power of serialized fiction is that it becomes so embedded in cultural consciousness that the readers really don't want to let them go. They want new stories. Yeah, and cultural legacy continues. Serialization didn't just change literature, it reshaped the very nature of storytelling, especially in the Western community. It really bridged the gap between high and popular culture. It brought literature to mass audiences. It also encouraged reader participation, much like how these days modern fandoms engage with TV series or book franchises. That is all that allows the authors to be more engaged with their audiences. It has also laid the foundation for modern entertainment, and it has influenced television shows, comics, or even video games. And something I wanted to share with you is All the Year Round by Charles Dickens. This was the magazine that he produced a lot of his most famous works in. I wanted to share this because this is actually free online, I believe. There is a Dickens Wikipedia online that you can check this out in. And there's a lot of writing that's not just Dickens, a lot of the sensational writers at the time writing there that you should definitely check out in your free time. Yeah, and we still see a lot of serialized fiction. A lot of the most famous, like Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, was first serialized. It was actually serialized in an anti-slavery newspaper, and it became the best-selling novel that influenced social change. And we also have impacts on narrative, how narrative is done, how on literary structures as well. It popularized cliffhangers and character-driven arcs. It encouraged long-term character development, and it again allowed writers flexibility to adapt their narratives. And so we have authors like Alexander Dumas, who wrote The Three Musketeers, and again Harriet Beecher Stowe, thriving in these kind of formats, showing how serialized fiction can really balance artistic integrity with widespread appeal. And let's look a bit more into modern adaptation. So we continue to have digitalized serialized format, although traditional magazine serialization has significantly declined. We have digital platforms like Kindle Villa, Substack, and Webtoons that bring serialized stories into modern generation. We also have independent writers that use episodic fiction to engage in a worldwide audience. We have television streaming that has weekly releases that sustains anticipation, much like the 19th serialized fiction did with the Breaking Bad and the Game of Thrones, that tried to mimic serialized literature storytelling techniques. We also have podcasts that use, and webcomics as well, that use serialized audio dramas and webcomics to redefine how audiences really consume stories. And so, really, serialization is not a relic of the past. It is still a dynamic and evolving storytelling technique that continues to shape how we engage with narrative today. Yeah, so from Dickens's serialization to Sherlock Holmes's magazine writing, we saw how now it is impacted in the digital world with webcomics, streaming on TV, and digital storytelling as well, and how serialization continues to remain a powerful force in literature and entertainment. I think the reason serialized fiction could endure so much is because it allowed for essentially better quality writing. It kept the audiences engaged in it, it had rich character developments, and it was really a communal kind of experiences that moved beyond very, very simple writing ideas. So yeah, whether in print or digital form, serialized fiction continues to shape the way we consume stories, and it has become a way for episodic storytelling to become strong as ever. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this presentation has made you have a deeper appreciation for serialized fiction, past, present, or the future. And yeah, and I hope this has opened the floor for discussion in these areas, that you continue to stay curious. Thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing day. Bye.